Hello my horror fans, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into the 1996 horror classic that turned the slasher genre on its head. I am talking about Wes Craven's Scream, which came out way back in 1996, so grab yourself some popcorn because this film is packed with scares, laughs and plenty of meta moments. But more importantly, we're here to figure out if it still holds up over 25 years later. Let's jump in. Scream begins with one of the most iconic opening scenes in horror history. Drew Barrymore's character Casey Becker receives a phone call that changes everything. What starts as a playful game quickly turns terrifying, making the film's commitment to subverting viewers' expectations. A lot of people thought that Drew Barrymore's character was the main girl, but nope, they killed her off in the opening scene. From here we meet our main protagonist, Sidney Prescott, played by the amazing Neve Campbell. Now the film cleverly combines traditional slasher tropes with a self-aware, almost satirical approach, making it a commentary on the horror film genre itself. One of the standout elements of Scream is its unforgettable characters. I mean, we have this smart and resilient legend, Sidney, we have her jokester boyfriend, Billy Loomis, and of course, the film buff, Randy, played by Jamie Kennedy, who breaks down the horror movie rules in one of the film's most memorable scenes. The cast shines with great performances. Neve Campbell effectively balances vulnerability and strength, creating a hero that resonates with the viewers. David Arquette as Dewey adds an element of comic relief while still maintaining a sense of determination, and he does become more of a serious character as the Scream films go on. And who can forget about Courtney Cox as Gail Weathers, the ambitious reporter with a relentless drive. Now, the chemistry between all of these characters and actors is really what brings this story to life. Scream doesn't just rely on traditional horror elements, it plays with them. For instance, Randy's movie rules are a clever tool that both educates the audience and builds suspense. It pushes the film into that self-aware territory where characters end up acknowledging those classic horror cliches and tropes. Like the scene where Randy says, never say you'll be right back, because you'll never be right back. This meta-narrative is what made Scream so groundbreaking. At a time when slasher films were becoming a little bit tired, it breathed new life into the genre, with references to films like Halloween and Psycho, and of course, A Nightmare on Elm Street. Scream invites viewers to be part of the fun as critics and fans of the genre. Moving on to the cinematography, Scream features sharp visuals that enhance the film's tension. The use of lighting and shadow creates a sinister atmosphere throughout, perfect for a supernatural killer lurking in the darkness. Wes Craven's direction masterfully balances suspense and chaos. I mean, of course he does. He is Wes Craven, he is the king of horror. And of course, we cannot forget the amazing soundtrack that Scream gives us. That haunting score, composed by Marco Beltrami, adds layers of intensity, elevating even the simplest of scenes. Plus, the use of pop songs throughout the film perfectly captures that 90s vibes, resonating with nostalgia. Whenever I go back and rewatch this film, I literally feel like a teenager again. So what impact did Scream have on the horror genre and pop culture in general? Well, as I've already more or less said, it revived the slasher genre, paved the way for numerous sequels and imitators, including the up-and-coming Scream 7. It reinvigorated interest in horror films again, proving that they could be clever, funny, but also still pack a punch. If you've not seen any of the Scream movies, then don't worry, I am not going to reveal who the killers are, but also, why haven't you seen Scream? But anyway, what I can say without giving anything away is that the third act in the movie is iconic. It's filled basically like a bloodbath, and there are some pretty amazing and memorable showdowns. There are so many standout moments from this movie, but I think the one that stands out the most is definitely the opening scene with Drew Barrymore's character. There have been so many parodies on Scream, like the scary movies, and there's also a film called Shriek. But whenever I rewatch this movie and I rewatch that opening scene, it reminds me that this was actually an extremely violent movie. And do you know the moment where Drew Barrymore's parents, they come home and then they find the house in a little bit of a state, followed by the mum hearing the sound of her dying daughter on the other end of the phone? It gets me every time. It always gives me shivers. I actually have a friend who didn't make it past this opening scene way back in the 90s before, she turned it off. And she didn't actually return to watch Scream again until quite a few years later. That is how much of an impact this movie made with certain audiences around the world when it first was released. It was very, very scary for its time. And, the use of the killer on the other end of a phone is just genius. We've all been home alone at night time, and how scary would it be for the phone to ring and for it to be a crazed killer? Fast forward to today, Scream remains a cultural touchstone. From parodies to sequels, as I've mentioned, its influence is undeniable. And as I mentioned earlier, there is a Scream 7 in the works and being released in February of 2026, which is just so far away, but I am super excited for it. But in conclusion, Scream is more than just a horror film. It is a masterclass in self-awareness, character development, and genre-bending storytelling. There are so many horror films these days where, there is just no character development, and Scream really did change that. If you haven't revisited this classic in a while, then I do highly recommend that you do it. It still holds up remarkably well. So, all in all, I am going to give Wes Craven's classic horror movie Scream a big fat juicy 8.7 out of 10. Did you love Scream back in the day, or do you just have a favourite moment that you cannot forget? Be sure to drop all of your thoughts in the comments box below, and if you did enjoy today's review, then don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more reviews and insights. Until next time, my lovely horror fans, keep it scary.